Okay, welcome to Transforming Urban again with LaShelle London, the new Director of Development for Papa John's Pizza. And we were just talking about how you have pivoted from Dunkin' Donuts, which you spent almost 10 years, to the new Papa John's Pizza. Talk to us about how that happened and why Papa John's. Why is that an opportunity for you that's positive?
Sure. So I was actually contacted by a recruiter, and a recruiter that I've worked with for years and years, who has brought me many opportunities. But this one was different. The opportunity was great, the compensation was good, and it just seemed like it was the right time for my family. My kids are older. Um, Basically, Papa John's is starting from scratch in terms of rebuilding the company from with regards to operations, franchising, development, construction, all of it kind of like, okay, this is where we were, but this is where we want to go. We want to be more professional and just kind of take things to the next level. Just like Dunkin' Donuts, they did very well through the pandemic because, you know, everybody still wants pizza, right? You don't necessarily have to go out to get it. It can be delivered, or even if you do go get it, it's quick. You go get it, you get back in your car and come home. So they actually did quite well through the pandemic, and they want to continue that. So they hired myself and three other regional directors, and we're going to start from scratch with, okay, what, first of all, what are we doing? Who are our customers? Who's our customer base? Who are we trying to attract? And once we understand that, then we can start talking about where should we be? What markets should we be in? What are those critical success factors from demographics and all the rest of it? Where should we not be? And of those locations those markets that we determine we should be in, what should be the priorities? What should the trade areas look like? Should we be in neighborhood trade areas? Should we be in regional trade areas? What should that look like? And what should the sites look like? How are our customers using us? And delivery is a very big part of it. So what kind of site should you have for a company that's more delivery than walk in and pick up carry out? So we're looking at all of those things. Everything is on the table, and we are going to figure out what's the path forward for Papa John so that we can continue to grow. It's also a franchise organization, just like Dunkin'. We do corporate deals as well, so there'll be a mix of both, but it will still mostly be franchise growth. And so at this point, we don't even know what the boundaries are. I'm Midwest and Canada, but I don't know what that means in terms of Midwest. Does it include Kansas City? I don't know yet. It's been 2 weeks, but we're going to find out. We've got a director out west, Midwest, Southeast, and Northeast. And so, like I said, we haven't figured out exactly those boundaries yet, but that's part of the excitement of the opportunity is that we get to start from scratch and we get to build it the way we think it should be built. We're all seasoned professionals, and we bring many years of experience between the four of us.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're gonna build the program the way we think it should be built, and very much looking forward to that. So it was, like I said, everything kind of came together. Previously, the opportunity would be good, but the compensation not so much, or the compensation would be great, but the opportunity, well, I don't really want to do that. I was very comfortable at Dunkin', working at home, getting paid well, great benefits, had a company car, that I could use for personal use. Just everything. It was comfortable, very comfortable. So it was really difficult to move me out of that. But like I said, the opportunity, very exciting. I checked the compensation, and for me, it's overall compensation. I told the recruiter as well as the company, it's not just about what's my base salary going to be. So we talked about base salary, we talked about bonus, we talked about the fact that I had a company car for almost 10 years and had not paid a car note or maintenance or gas or
Wow.
insurance for 10 years. And I didn't really like the idea of going into debt to take a job. So, we talked about how are we going to take care of that. The fact that I'd been there for almost 10 years and had 4 weeks of vacation and didn't really want to go back. They basically came back with everything I asked for. So the
Wow.
opportunity was great. They met me on my asks for compensation. And then with my kids, I've got two older kids who are in college. and my youngest is a junior in high school. He just got his driver's license, so he's more independent. So it's not really such a big deal for me to have to travel now. Again, I don't know what that means yet for Midwest, and who knows when we'll be able to go back into Canada if they'll let us back in from COVID. But it's everything seemed to come together. All the stars aligned. So my husband and I talked about it, and it's like, you know what? Let's go for it. Seems like it's the right opportunity and the right time, so let's go for it.
Well, with wisdom and experience and sort of your knowledge comes the perks. I mean, you're asking for what you want. And I think as we talk to young people about sort of building their resume so that they can sort of really sort of create their own future in this arena and bring those experiences to do different things. So you have now earned your right to say, look, I'm going to bring some innovative ideas to you and your company, and we're going to build this in a completely different way. And we'll talk about Papa John's and sort of the details around Papa John's seriously a little bit later, because this is a great time to sort of pivot into sort of, again, innovation in this current climate in retail. Both all retail sectors and certainly the restaurant sectors are all looking at how to survive in this environment. Again, you're right. There's some sectors that were already drive-through, pushing things through the door, really technologically, I think, innovative in making sure they were using geofencing, knowing where their clients were at all times, delivering things right to the outside of the door, staff coming out and bringing things to them. You think about Target and Walmart and some of these other places. But to me, everyone wants to drive through now, right? Everyone wants their own in-house delivery so they don't have to do the third-party thing. I feel like right now every boutique should want to drive through. We can just push clothes out the door, just toss it out the door, catch it, and get out with the thing. Everything is touchless now. Right. Every brand needs a drive-through, and you are in two different companies right now where, luckily, I mean, certainly the Dunkin' Donuts, a lot of their stores had drive-thrus and were surviving because of that. But innovation is so critical. I love those companies that have innovation officers. What do you do? I'm the chief innovation officer. I'm like, what do you do? Dream all day? What's going on? But now you realize how important that is. How are we adjusting to these times? So to a certain degree, I feel like you, with this new position, with the wisdom and the knowledge that you have, you also have to, you can't just focus sort of on real estate, sort of staple sort of types of things. What are some of the innovative, tools and tricks that you've seen now, from Dunkin' during COVID to now Papa John's? Where do you see the industry going specifically? Where do you, see these innovative techniques coming into play and bringing success to companies or survival to companies?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing right now, because of COVID, is the whole idea of touchless delivery. I think the consensus is that it's going to be around for a while. It's not going to be just a hit or miss thing. And okay, a year and a half from now, when hopefully COVID is in our rearview mirror, people will just be like, oh, we're just going to go back to the way it used to be. The general consensus, excuse me, is that's going to take a while. Oh, excuse me, let me get a drink.
Need some water? I've got water here.
Wow. Okay, let me start over.
I just had a sip of water too. You got to have some right there.
Absolutely. Oh boy. Okay. So I think the general consensus has been that people's attitudes and their behaviors around COVID are going to be around for a little while.
Yes.
People are going to want the touchless delivery. And so that's a lot of the experience. That's a lot of the QSRs and restaurant industry people are working on now. I would say it's technology. So whether it's touchless delivery, and I don't necessarily mean physically delivery, but either they come into the store or they go through the drive-through, or we bring it to you, or we take it to the curb. Minimize the actual contact as much as possible, person to person, as well as with machines, right? Because now the concern is if you touch something that somebody else has touched that might have COVID or whatever, it might be a problem. So trying to minimize that as much as possible. A lot of things with the phone, right? Putting apps on your phone and being able to use that to order, to pick up, to pay, to do whatever. very much into that and trying to make those systems as robust as possible. And then also, like I said, meeting people where they are, whether it's bring it to your car at the curb, go through the drive-through, bring it to your home, leave it on the porch and go, or whatever. Um, those are the big things that I think the companies are really concentrating on right now, and then building their loyalty through that. So that's our value add, right? If we can bring it to you in this way, deliver it to you in that way, give you the products that you want and deliver them to you the way that you want. And oh, by the way, if you sign up for our app, you can also get some discounts, and there are other special incentives. That's the name of the game, and that's really where a lot of the companies, well, at least a lot that I've heard of, and certainly Dunkin' Brands and Papa John's are no exception to that. Those are the kinds of things that they're really working
So talk to me quickly about the number of black franchisees or franchisees of, I'm going to say black franchisees, both for Dunkin' and for Papa John's. I know Papa John's is new, but do you see in Dunkin', were there a lot of black Dunkin' franchisees?
on. There were not. There are not. And I honestly can't necessarily give you a good reason why. I think it just has a lot to do with knowledge and information. Just like for what I do, I say I work for Taco Bell. You work in a Taco Bell? No. Work. You work in a Dunkin' Donuts? No, I don't work in Dunkin'. People don't think about what has to happen 18 to 24 months before they see a new restaurant under construction. They're just excited that there's a new whatever, fill in the blank, come into their neighborhood. And that's fine. But I think that's also part of the reason why there aren't more black franchisees in the system. For Dunkin' Brands or at Papa John's, I haven't seen or heard of any, but I've only been here for a couple of weeks. But I think probably it's like, oh, when you think of franchise, McDonald's. That's probably the first thing that most black people would think of if they want to do a franchise restaurant. McDonald's, that's the first thing, because they do a great job, right? They've got the Black McDonald's Owners Association. They're out there in the community, and you know about them. So no, there aren't that many. But again, like I said, I think part of it's knowledge, and some of it might be obstacles, financial obstacles to being able to get in. Papa John's has less of a requirement, but Dunkin' is a pretty large financial requirement, and maybe the money isn't there. But there definitely are not that many, unfortunately.
So I figured I'd throw that in there just to check and see, because again, I think not so many. I think in the franchise world generally, there's not a lot of black operators, and
I
so
think you're
again,
right.
sometimes it is about knowledge and just sort of understanding. And I think the same with Papa John's. And I'm not going to really get into sort of the Papa John's sort of controversies that we've heard of over the last couple of years with its previous founder and owner. But
Mm-hmm.
that would certainly make pause some people to think about, well, I was thinking about a franchisee, and they probably wouldn't think, maybe I should go to, look at Papa John's. But
Mm-hmm.
could be an interesting opportunity. And I think with you being there at the helm of real estate development there, really could change the minds of a lot of people to rethink, how they're thinking. The pizza sector is on fire, certainly to a certain
Yes.
degree.
Yes.
Um, I live around, literally, I can throw a rock and hit five different pizza restaurants in my neighborhood, and two
Mm-hmm.
of them are brand new. I was like, are you kidding me? It's amazing.
Yes.
Like people are eating pizza. But, again, I think about sort of your ability to bring the brand to a new direction. And I'm happy that you're saying you all are really innovating and creating a whole new world for Papa John. So that is an exciting. That doesn't happen all the time. Does that happen a lot? Do you hear people sort of having those types of opportunities in brands?
Not really. And, like I said, I've had opportunities that have been brought to me over the years, and there have been a couple where it's, oh, they're just starting out, they need somebody. But a lot of times they're starting out and they basically want somebody at an, associate salary, but they want a manager experience. I'm like,
Right.
no, can't take a pay cut.
Exactly.
Not gonna do
Exactly.
that.
To be innovative for
So
you, I need to make less money? No, I don't think so.
right, exactly. So I mean, I've heard of it a couple of times. I've been approached a couple of times, but I again, this is a unique opportunity in that because of a lot of the bad press the past few years with the founder who is now gone, they really make a making a very concerted effort to get away from that. There's a new board. It's now driven, the decisions are driven by the board as opposed to, the founder. And that's why there's so many changes right now. There's a great diversity and inclusiveness group that is just doing great work with the company, and a foundation that's doing a lot of work funneling money to African American communities and charities. It's just they're really making a concerted effort to put a better foot forward, and it's very evident when I was going through the interview process. The people that I met with and spoke to, I was like, oh, okay, women, blacks, Latinos. Okay, let's go. Very diverse
Nice.
work group. It's been very nice. Yeah.
That is encouraging. Well, as we wind down a little bit, I'm going to sort of ask you to be clairvoyant, which people do in these types of forums, right? Like you're the expert, you've been doing this, certainly a little bit in the real estate sector, the restaurant sector specifically, for, certainly almost 20 years. And we see sort of where things are going. I think fine dining, casual dining, everyone's in trouble, in serious trouble in that respect. And so we're learning from this time. I mean, how are we preparing for the future in this? Honestly, I believe sort of the casual diner of yesteryear, or 6 months ago, right? The casual diner a year ago. I think most of those people will be gone, and will be gone forever, because health risks are not going to disappear from their minds now. If you had any underlying issues, you're not going to say, oh, there's a vaccine, and I'm just going to run out and go and sit inside of this steakhouse for the next 2 hours. I just don't believe that's going to happen anytime soon. And so the restaurant sector is in a really, really crucial period in its time. From your experiences with sort of larger brands, food across the board, what do you think the shift is? How do you think, are these companies going to recover? I've seen a lot of Chapter 7s with, I can't even remember the names of all these companies that are filing. How do you think we're going to come out? Because this affects sort of my business as a broker representing larger companies, with companies. I have retail sites in the Central Business District, which is decimated. There's going to be a lot of empty restaurants right now.
Yes.
How do you see things going? Have you been keeping up with sort of trends, what people are talking about, the buzz chatter?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's going to be survival of the fittest, really. I believe that there will be brands that will make it, casual dining brands, because, at the end of the day, people are still going to want to go out to eat. How often they do it and how quickly they do it, that's going to be another issue. But people are always going to want to go out and sit down and have a good meal. Whether it's casual dining or if it's upscale, whatever it is, people are always going to want to do that, to celebrate, or just to go out, get out of the house. I think that companies are going to have to tighten their belts and really take a very serious look at their operating platform. I have to say Dunkin', I don't think I'm talking out of turn by saying this, Dunkin' did a really great job of that when I was there. They saw this pandemic situation coming but I shouldn't say long before, but earlier in March, late April, early March, before everybody started saying, you know what, just stay home. They were already like, you know what, this is going to be a problem.
Right.
And it might be because they're based in the Northeast in Boston, so they were getting it harder up there before the rest of us. But, and it was always about what's the short-term plan, and then what's the long-term plan for when we are fully back in action. And I think that that's what companies need to start doing. That's what restaurants have to consider is, okay, this is where we are right now, and this is where we may be for the next 1.5 to 2 years. What do we have to do to make it work now? And then let's start talking about what do we have to do after that? What are we going to look like after that when things are more normal, whatever the new normal is going to be? What is it going to look like, and what do we do to try to protect ourselves if the 100-year illness comes back before 100 years? It's going to be tough. It causes you, it shakes you to your foundation, just like with families on a personal level. People, you're stuck at home with whomever you're stuck at home with for 3-4 months, and you can't go anywhere. You start to take stock.
Right, exactly.
I think companies are having to do the same thing, regardless of what sector you're in. You just have to take a really hard look at what your operating platform is and figure out, all right, what are we going to do now to survive? and what are we going to look like when we come through this? And invariably, there's going to be closed locations. I mean, as I was traveling around, the end of my time with Duncan, I picked up St. Louis and Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, and I
Interesting.
drove down there and looked at what we had, and was kind of looking at the market, trying to figure out what we should do, what our strategy should be in those different markets. And already quite a few closed restaurants, just shut down, closed their business, we're done.
Wow.
So it's real. There's definitely going to be a toll, but we'll come through the other side of it. We will. People
Yeah, I
aren't going
think
to just
so.
stay home forever.
I think there's going to be some corrections. This is, the corrections that probably should have been made in the first place.
Yes.
When you think about, just overextended stores, oversaturated markets, things like
Yes.
that. I feel like we're going to see some of those corrections, but it is
For operations.
for operations across the board. There's just going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to deal with, I think. So I feel like um, we're going to have to really do some unbelievable pivoting, because that's the buzzword right now is pivoting.
Yes.
But I see there's still innovators. There's still mergers and acquisitions happening out here. People are still making announcements on, sort of core strategies for the next 10 years for their companies and their brands. And I pulled this up because just a couple of, what was that, October 3rd, a couple of weeks ago, we saw that, and I thought about you immediately and said Inspire Brands bought Dunkin' Brands Group for $11.3 billion, including debt, in this market. And Inspire Brands, I believe, has sort of Arby's.
Yes.
What else do they have? They have
Sonic,
Buffalo Wild Wings. They have quite a group of brands in their arsenal. And, I thought that was interesting. What did you think about that as someone sort of pivoting outside of the company? Well, how did that make you think about sort of what's going on in the industry right now?
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. I will tell you, it started coming out before I left, and I was literally grocery shopping on Sunday afternoon, and email came out. It's going to be a company-wide employee meeting at 5:30.
On a Sunday?
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh.
No.
I was thinking something really tragic. I mean, like that the president of the company had died or something. Seriously,
Right.
I thought, oh, this is not good. This is going to be terrible. And it was literally, that's what it was. It wasn't that the deal had been done. It was the executive team saying, listen, we know that you all have been getting wind of this today. I hadn't. I don't know what people
Right.
were saying or
Like, I've
listening
been
to, but I
grocery
hadn't.
shopping it with my kids. I don't know what you do.
Exactly. Like, I wasn't, but they said, and we just wanted to address you personally and directly to let you know that, yes, our board is talking to their board. That's all we know. All we know is that we're going to go to work tomorrow morning and do what we do. And that's all we can do because we don't know anything else. It was literally like a 3 or 4 minute call. I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's pretty incredible. And then all of a sudden by the end of the week, that was the Sunday before my last week at Dunkin'. And then that following Saturday, one of my girlfriends sent me a text that included the link to this story, that it was a done deal. I'm like, how can it be a done deal already? They said they were just talking.
You know it's a done deal if they put you on the phone. They just want you to make you think that they wanted to talk to you first. They've already inked it. Money's already been wired. They're in Florida relaxing,
Exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, it's done. It's over. I mean, the transaction has not completed. But obviously they've come to terms. So I don't know when it's going to be complete. I mean, I was interested not only as an employee, former employee, but I'm also a stockholder.
Right.
So they're going to be buying me out.
Right.
It's going private. So that's interesting.
That is
but
interesting.
it's nothing different than what happens in this business. I've been around for a long time, and I've been in companies that started private and went public. I've been in companies that are public and then went private. It definitely changes the way you operate when you have, Wall Street looking over your shoulder versus not. There's definitely a different dynamic there, but it happens all the time. And Inspire Brands, they're one of the companies that I interviewed with. And actually I want to say it was the beginning of the year. It was either end of last year or beginning of this year. And they were grouping their brands by type. So like trying to put the QSRs together and have a real estate person handle that, and the casual dining together and have someone else handle that. And it was actually sounding like a very interesting opportunity, and
Yeah.
I was supposed to be going to the next level in terms of interviews. But then Miss Rona came to town, and
Right.
I kind of took care of all of that. But I mean, it's a good company. I think from what I know, it seems like a good company. I think it's whether or not it's going to be good for the employees of Dunkin' Brands, I can't say, but I can say that they're buying them for a reason, right? I mean, Dunkin' is very good at what they do. So I'd be surprised if they tried to come in and change things up because, again, Dunkin' is one of the few brands that has done well through the pandemic, and they're constantly saying, how can we do better? What can we can do better? What do we need to do better? So I'd be surprised if they just came in and started changing things up.
I think they probably have a while, but I think sort of the co-branding opportunities within the firm there, I think, are going to be tremendous because it looks like they have different sort of restaurant sectors in the
Yes.
umbrella, So I feel
Yes.
like they can just do some tremendous things with what they want to do. But then here you go, just the other day, I get another Papa John's announcement that I saw that they are moving their headquarters to Atlanta, which is where
Atlanta.
Inspire Brands is, interestingly. And so
See?
people with a wondering mind say,
Yes.
wow, and you all are innovating and creating new things and putting together new teams.
Yeah.
I said to myself, and then I was trying to see, well, do they have any pizza? Any pizza brands in that
I don't
arsenal
think
in
they do.
Inspire? I don't think they do. What do you think about sort of the move to Atlanta? And by the way, I represent property in Atlanta. So much excitement in Atlanta and the metropolitan Atlanta corridor for businesses across the board, retail across the board. Just they haven't shut down from what I know. Things were open and, great things happening there. And now Papa John's moves to Atlanta. What do you think about that strategy and sort of, again, sort of what people are thinking might be a pickup for Inspire?
Yeah, I think I can't remember all of the reasoning behind the move, but and so it's not they're told not totally moving. We're still going to have corporate offices in Louisville, Kentucky, which is where it was founded, and it's a beautiful facility. It's absolutely amazing. I haven't been there, but as part of our initiation and onboarding, they were showing us photographs, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's really amazing. But Louisville, Kentucky is not the center of the world. And so
It isn't.
and it's not the center of the United States. And when you're trying to have a world-class company and attract world-class people, you're more likely to do that in Atlanta than in Louisville, Kentucky. Nothing against Louisville. I like it. But they're just trying to do something different. So there's still going to be offices in Louisville, new offices in Atlanta. Certain departments will be in Atlanta, and certain departments will be in Louisville. Doesn't affect me because I'm still going to be home office no matter what. But there are, and I don't remember what the split was for the departments or how they decided who would stay in Louisville and who would go to Atlanta. But they'll maintain campuses in both places. As for Inspire, I don't know. That's interesting. I actually, one of my former coworkers at Dunkin', I used to work with him at Shell Oil as well, and he said,
Wow.
"Listen, looks to me like we're going to be working together again in a minute because." I said, you know what? Inspire Brands doesn't have a pizza concept, so who knows? Maybe they'll buy us up too.
And that's just the best time to do it. This is just really one of the best times to do that. You all are creating, some new visibility for yourselves in a different way. It's a really great time for Inspire to really, get a jump on what's going to be a phenomenal sort of new presence for your firm. So I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
That's more stocks and bonds. That's more dough. So I see all kinds of great things happening, LaShelle. What do you see the future for your brand? Do you think Papa John's, if things go well, you'll be there for a long time, or is that sort of, would that be your goal sort of at this point in sort of, we're sort of middle aged. I'm only 21. I don't know how old you are, but I think for sort of the middle age. What do you think? And do you think you would do something with this wealth of experience that you have? Would you operate as a consultant? Would you do something sort of by yourself? Would you always want to have it? Your kids are older. They're going to be taking care of you soon. They're going to be rich and famous. There's going to be really no need for you to work. What is the name? What's the future for LaShelle?
Yeah, I'd like to be with Papa John's for a while, just to, there's so much to do. So I'd love to not only get it started, but also start to see it through and, get it going. But I wouldn't mind working as a consultant, perhaps retiring and working as a consultant. I actually did that for a while, that 13 months that I was off in between Duncan and Famous Dave's. Um, Again, contacts, right? That same company that got me the job or referred me to Famous Dave's, they were working with another client, Popeyes, who needed help. And she said, I'm going to call them and let them know about you. So that's what I did. I was a consultant for them for a few months. They had me traveling to a couple of markets where they needed, somebody to take a look and give them some feedback. And so that's what I did. And I was like, hey, this is kind of fun. I like this. Yeah, I could do that. So I could see myself being a consultant after I retire. You know, I could see that. I could see that.
And I can see, I mean, just sort of thinking about, your experience and, how you could add value to some of these sort of smaller Black restaurateurs who might need to, sort of at what point do they brand develop and become larger firms? And we were thinking about that. There's a new company that just started this year that's picking up a lot of different sort of smaller brands, and doing some great things with some of them too, along sort of on the West Coast. And, I feel like some of these, brands, some of these small Black brands need your expertise. I don't know if they can afford you, but they need, your expertise and to move to the next level. Would you consider buying a franchisee, a franchise company? Would you consider a particular franchise company in your future? Would you do that?
I doubt it. I doubt it just because I've been around long enough to know, at least when I think franchise, I think restaurant. And it is a lot of work. It is a tremendous amount of work, and the margins are not that great.
Mm,
Um, you'd really have to have multiple units in order for it to really make economic sense. And at this stage in my life, that is not what I'm trying to do. I mean, really, just about, I can't even think of a franchise where you could be, okay, I'm just going to get one and it's going to be great.
and
No,
that's it. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
you need to have more than one. It's a tremendous amount of time and training, and it really needs to be a passion, for you to do it correctly and, run it properly so that it can be profitable. You hire the right people, all of that. It takes a tremendous amount of passion. You really have to want to be in that business. And I'm just going to stay in my lane, real estate and construction and development,
You're
and
the expert
leave
in
the
that.
franchising. Yeah, leave the
Exactly.
franchising to the people who really have a passion for it, because that's really what it takes. It's a tremendous commitment, and I think a lot of times people going into it don't realize that. They just think of it, I want to buy myself a business, and this is going to be great. And then you get into it, and you do all the if you pick the right company, all the training and everything and the requirements. It's a lot. It's really a lot. And that's not my lane. It is not my lane. No,
It is a
ma'am.
lot. Right now, I should have brought up some of those stories. There are quite a few, we're hearing more of these chains that have Black franchisees. So, right now, Chicago, the Culvers is opening a few different locations and they're Black operators. They have Steak and Shake is opening with a few different Black operators in the Chicago market, which is really interesting. And
Good
again,
for
I
them.
told you my first interaction with Steak and Shake, they're like, we do not want to talk to you at all, young lady. It
Right.
was
Oh
sad.
no.
I'll never forget that. But, clearly now they've got some Black operators and they're looking in sort of, you know, new territories. I mean, if they expand, they can't always expand along all the intersections in the world, all the major, expressways. And a suburban is done. They can only go urban. And so if you're going to do that, you're going to have to look
Yeah.
at, who your clientele is and they're thinking differently. So, LaShelle, thank you for sharing your life and career with
You're
me
welcome.
today with here on Transforming Urban. And I really just hope this is the beginning. I mean, clearly you've done a lot of different things. You've moderated panels. I didn't bring that up. I'll do that sort of in editing. But I don't know if you're always able to talk about yourself. And your story, again, as I mentioned off camera, is so inspiring. You really have done quite a bit, and you know so much about the industry from the inside and from the outside that so many people need to have. And I want to make sure that people can come to you, even with your responsibilities at Papa John's. You're going to turn that into just this unbelievable powerhouse. But I think that there's so many people who need your knowledge, and so hopefully or unhopefully for you, I don't know if you want to make those calls coming into you at all times. We're going to have some. Do you have any mentees? Are you mentoring young people?
I'm not. I had one at Duncan, a new real estate manager. She wasn't new to the company, but new to the position. And so I spent a year mentoring her. That was fun. She was in Phoenix. So I got to go out to Phoenix and, work with her. Yeah. But outside of that, no, I'm not mentoring anyone right now.
Well, luckily now there's a unique way to talk to people. You don't have to see people in person these days. You can virtually inspire people and tell people about your work and sort of your thoughts on the future of this industry and the business. And LaShelle, anything else you want to tell young people? Would you encourage young people to go into this type of work?
I would say so, definitely. It's not something that people necessarily know about. And I probably wouldn't have known about it either, honestly, if I hadn't just been looking in that Sunday paper in the classified. I was like, oh, look at that. But, just because you get a real estate degree doesn't mean you have to be a commercial real estate broker. Doesn't mean that you have to be a residential real estate broker. I mean, there's just so many different things. So I would just say with any opportunity, marketing, real estate, finance, whatever, look at all the options. Really explore what's out there, because that's how you might find something that you didn't know about, and it could really be a niche that, oh, hey, that might be kind of fun. And, that's definitely the case, I think, with anybody who works in our business, whether it's real estate or not. Just if you're working in corporate retail real estate, just because you got a degree in marketing doesn't mean you have to go work for P&G. There's marketing people at Papa John's. There's marketing people at Taco Bell. There's marketing people at all of these companies. So there's just so many opportunities. Finance and accounting, they're at these companies too. So consider retail.
I think take chances. I think what you did was
Yes.
took a chance on a random ad. And certainly you're a little younger. Some people can take more chances when you're a little younger. You say, look, let's explore what this opportunity is. Ask questions. The moral of sort of your story, as I see it here, as it pertains to young people in your career, is make some calls. Keep
Yes.
those relationships, and don't be afraid to just ask for sort of what you're looking for.
Don't burn any bridges.
Don't burn any
Not
bridges.
burn any bridges.
That's a good way to end this. Do not burn bridges. LaShelle, I'm so happy that we've kept in touch over the last, certain number of decades. So I think that I'm so happy we got to talk, and maybe we'll do this again we could throw Monica C. Smith on the line if we can find her. Maybe we can do this all again and sort of talk about our experiences in the different places in real estate that we've been, and talk about it specifically just as Black women professionals. And this is a good time to do that, given the climate. We have a new woman, Black and Asian vice president.
Yes.
And it's a great time to celebrate us.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, LaShelle. I'm going to allow you to go. I'm going to just make a straight cut because I know it's been a long day, but a long interview. Thank you again. I'll touch base with you soon, and have a great rest of the day. And thanks again for coming to the Transforming Urban webcast and podcast. Again, you can see that at www.transformingurban.com, on Facebook Live, and every place you can get podcasts. So iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, you can find it. Thanks again, LaShelle.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.